I hope everyone is with me. I am getting ready to give you the talk about Emirati coffee, which is otherwise known as Emirati Gawa. I'm still going to wait another 30 seconds until you all have come on board. I'm looking forward to having you all on board. All right, I'm just going to give you another 35 seconds and then we'll start. Okay, you can write your name or thumbs up, comments, anything you want. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start now. Hello everyone and welcome to our Emirati food program. And tonight our specialty will be Emirati coffee. Now, if any of you out there, do any of you out there know the Emirati coffee? Have you ever tasted Emirati coffee? Any comments? Comments will appear here. Okay, we're not ready yet. It doesn't matter. I'm going to, first of all, welcome you all. My name is Alexandra von Hahn. I am actually, for the time being, I'm live in Abu Dhabi. In fact, about 30 minutes heading towards Dubai. Just on the in the States or in the Emirates of Abu Dhabi, but off the island of Abu Dhabi. Tonight our talk will be about Emirati coffee, or otherwise known as Gawa. That's spelled G-H-A-W-A. I'm going to start by showing you what Emirati coffee is all about. It's about the ritual. It's not only preparing the coffee, but it's the etiquette and the ritual and the history behind the reason why Emirati coffee is served at all. And let me start off with the coffee pot, which is going to be the easiest part. I'm going to turn the camera around, and what you're going to see is I hope you're going to be able to see this. Just a second. Okay, I hope you're able to see my coffee pot. There we go. This is called the dalla, and the dalla is composed of several parts. We have the handle, which is a long ergonomic handle, and there's a reason for it. The pot is a large 1 or 2 liter pot, or otherwise known as dalla. And again, coming back to the handle, there's a reason why it's a long handle, because the lower part of the coffee pot is placed onto very hot coal, or even coal with flames. This pot here is a dalla as well, but not a traditional dalla, but a modern dalla, which no longer needs to be placed on coal or on fire. The coffee is prepared on the top stove and poured into the dalla, or into the coffee pot. However, just about 15-20 years ago, Emiratis and the entire Gulf area, they inserted the pot directly onto the hot coal or flames, or also very hot sand under 50 and 60 degrees Celsius. Now, look at the shape. What the Emiratis or the entire Gulf area, they consider the shape as a feminine shape. And I'm going to move slowly towards the beak. Have a look at the beak. It's actually a very unique design. I'm going to go over. This is the beak. I hope you're able to see the beak. Yes, there we go. The beak also has an opening in the front, as all beaks or all spouts have. This looks like a beak. It's like a bird's beak, long, and it's a copy, in fact, of a bird's beak. And that was the idea of the original design of the dalla, although historically has not been written anywhere that I know of why exactly it is the shape of a beak of a bird. There might be a reason, but for the time being, not found it yet. Now, if we go towards the top of the dalla, also an important part, you see these two bulges here. When you open the top, the traditional dallas used to insert, or it is alleged to have been done, a small piece of pebble into the interior of the bulges. It was closed, and when the water was boiling, the pebble would move and indicate to the coffee maker that the coffee is ready. Now I'm going to go back and show you the entire, there we go. There we go. This is the dalla. This is a modern version of a dalla. The conventional one, or the traditional one, was used to be made out of brass. And for the families whose income justified the fact that they were able to buy or have the dallas made with 18 or 20 karat gold, that was usually by the wealthy, very, very wealthy families, and by the royal families in the Gulf area. I'm going to move the camera a little bit because I'm holding the mobile phone. I'm going to move it over. Welcome everyone. I think I see some of the names, and I'm going to, as soon as I'm able to read the names, I'm going to pronounce them. Okay, I'm going to move the camera towards my book, and I'm going to show you the traditional. Here we go. Perhaps we can see it. Just a second. There we go. Okay, this is the traditional dalla, how it's authentically used. And you can see it's made out of brass. It has the bulges as well. It has the long spout or the long beak, and the shape, which is considered being a very feminine shape. And it's a smaller dalla. Okay, I'm going to move the camera once more, and I'm going to be on camera myself right now. The Emirati coffee is not to be compared or with our European or Italian way of making coffee. Emiratis call it coffee. It's made out of coffee beans. And the coffee beans are green beans, usually from Ethiopia, or in the past, and if it's still available today, Yemenite coffee from the Mocha or Mocha area. They still seem to be growing coffee in Yemen, and somehow it is transported here to the UAE and to other parts of the world. I'm going to move the camera now towards. There we go. Oh, hello, Sylvia. Thank you for being on board. Welcome on board. And the others who are on their way to watch the program, they can either watch it live or they'll watch it later when they're ready to watch. Again, thank you for being on board, Sylvia. I'm going to move the camera now, just ever so slightly. Just a second. We'll be there. Okay, there we are. Those are the green coffee beans from Ethiopia. And what happens is this: the Emiratis, they roast their own coffee based, in other words, they purchase the green coffee beans. As I said before, it could be a combination of Ethiopian, Yemenite coffee beans. They're usually the very strong and flavorful, or they're now also buying the conventional coffee beans coming from Brazil and from other parts of the country. But if you want to taste yourself the authentic Emirati coffee, I strongly suggest, if you can get a hold of Ethiopian green coffee, go ahead. Now, I'm going to explain to you how these green beans or green coffee beans are roasted. They're roasted anywhere between 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Very low or middle to low fire, until the exterior skin from the coffee beans start to, in fact, they actually fly off or they pop off. But what they do is they actually fly off. And when that happens, that's the time when you start to lower the flame and make sure that all the beans have their skin removed, in other words, flying off. And you cool the coffee beans. Once they're cooled, this is a time to take a choice. In other words, you will either place them in a mortar and pestle or have them ground in a coffee grinder. Now I'm going to move the camera again, and I'm hoping that this is going to work now. I'm going to show you just a second, here we go. Okay. Now I'm going to ask Sylvia. Sylvia, can you see everything that I'm trying to show? Can you just let me know, Sylvia, if you can see anything? Can you hear me, Sylvia? Okay, I'm not sure if you're able to see this. I'm hoping that you are able to see it, and the others as well. Okay, I'm just going to reverse it. Okay, here we go. We have, as you can see, we have dark coffee as well. The dark coffee is for the Emiratis from the older generation. They actually roast the coffee until it becomes very, very dark. This is their preference. The younger generation, they prefer what they call blonde coffee. And let me show you how, after the coffee has been roasted, will look like in order to have a blonde coffee or a light colored coffee. See, this is the for the newer generation. The older generation, Emiratis, they prefer the coffee to be roasted and without any added flavor. And the younger generation is they're actually mixing what most of the Gulf area is now doing. They add to their coffee beans once the coffee beans are cooled down. And let me just show you the pot or the pan. Here, this is the pan with the green beans, and once they're roasted, they're actually done and the skin is removed. And you shake it until all the skins are off the beans, and you remove the skin from the beans. I'm going to bring the pan over to the other side. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add, as you can see here, this is cassia. They also like very much the cassia is cinnamon. It's a form, or it's a type of cinnamon. It's a little stronger. It's the bark as well. Let me show you the long bark. You just break a small piece of the cassia cinnamon. And let me bring the camera over to the other side now. I'm going to add a little bit of cinnamon on this side again. And then the addition of ginger. And for those of you who are wondering how to make this at home, I'm going to upload the recipe so you can make it at home as well. And I hope you're going to enjoy it. I'm going to move over now to the cardamom. You can add a pinch of cardamom to the coffee, a pinch of cinnamon, sorry, not cinnamon, but saffron to the coffee beans. And optional, you also have other spices if that is what you wish. But the Emiratis, they prefer to remain with the cardamom, with the ginger, and the cassia. I have placed other spices here, but they belong to other Gulf countries. If you've been there and you're wondering, okay, here we go. We'll just put a pinch or 2 pinches of cardamom into the coffee beans, and a good pinch of the most expensive saffron from Iran into the pan. And we're going to add a good pinch of ground ginger, fresh ginger. And if you can, which I have not said before, try to get the organic products. They taste so much better. Now here we go. Once you see all this in the pan, they're no longer roasted. We mix it, and we bring this all across to the mortar and pestle. Now let me just bring the camera here. Okay. This was, in other words, I've been pounding this for a little while just before starting the live broadcasting, because it takes a while. The fragrance is simply exquisite. Now the pounding may take anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes, or if you have a coffee grinder, it's so much easier. The ginger is optional. In other words, you can either add the ginger at the end without pounding it, or you can add it while you're pounding the coffee beans. That's optional. However, I personally prefer to add the ginger at the end after having powderized the roasted coffee beans. Now what we have in here are the coffee beans, the roasted coffee beans. We have the cardamom and we have the saffron. Now, just for you to see, it's not as fine as an espresso. Actually, it's what is called medium grind. And once you have that, this is when you then add to a kitchen pot 2 tablespoons. This is going to be for 4 or 5 persons. 2 tablespoons of your ground mixture into a pot of approximately 4 cups of water, and you allow it to come to a simmer, and you will allow it to simmer for about 20 minutes. Now you're now wondering, oh dear, this is not coffee, this is between a coffee and a tea, very light. Well, let me explain this to you. Emiratis do not drink, or they obviously drink coffee, European coffee, no doubt, but their traditional coffee, which they still drink today, is drunk not like we drink our coffee. The Emirati coffee is a sign of hospitality. It's drunk while they are getting to know each other, while they are networking, during business meetings. Now let me bring the camera up again. I'm going to switch it around. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about the reason why Emiratis drink their traditional coffee. It's not necessarily drunk just for drinking the coffee. It's to sip it during an event, during Ramadan, during Eid, during their fasting period, as I have just mentioned, or at any day, any time of the day, but most of the time it is to welcome the guests and to welcome their own family. And I'm going to show you now the cup in which the coffee is poured into. The cup is called a demi-cup, a half cup, usually without a handle. I have here 1 cup with a handle. However, it's drunk from traditionally without a handle, and it's held this way. 2 fingers at the bottom, 1 and the thumb on top. This is how it's served, and the person receiving will take the cup by holding the cup, or called finjan in Arabic. Now, why is a cup small? And there's a good reason for it. As I said before, they don't drink the coffee the way we drink European coffee. It's used to sip. It's a motion of actually drinking. The Emirati coffee has its own signals. In other words, its own language. Just to give you an example, Emiratis, they get together in a living room. It's called majlis in Arabic. And when they get together, they have an etiquette as to signaling without saying no and without saying yes. Their language is their language, but in addition to that, they also have a sign language when they drink Emirati coffee. They drink, the cup is only 1/4 or 1/3 full, and it's slowly sipped. Doesn't matter if it's cold or become cooler. You can, and if you no longer wish to have the coffee, what you do is this. Let me show you. You jiggle it. And that means I no longer wish to have any coffee, which is poured by the coffee pourer. Usually the coffee pourer is also the coffee maker, traditionally. In modern times now, it's the mother who usually makes the coffee, and amongst the women, it's the mother who serves the coffee. Amongst the man in their own living room, it's the host, the father, or the eldest, or possibly also the youngest son, if he's already trained to pour the coffee. Now, what could I be signaling when I drink the coffee? Should I jiggle? I no longer wish to have the coffee. Or, most often than not, when Emiratis meet at their majlis, which means the living room, they have issues to talk about. They have issues at school, they may have issues at work, or there's a guest who comes in who has an authentic, a very crucial issue to discuss immediately. And how would that be displayed? They don't come in and simply walk in and say, I have an issue to talk, please leave the room, I would like to talk to the host. No. He will be given the demi-cup or finjan, 1/3 or 1/4 full, but he's not going to drink from it. What he's going to do is take the motion, and I'm going to try to show you with the camera. He will place the demi-cup on the floor. Now, if you've missed this, what I was trying to say is that the demi-cup, when it is a very crucial issue, will be placed simply on the floor. Once the coffee cup or demi-cup or finjan is on the floor, that means there's a serious problem to be discussed. And this is when the host will immediately pay attention to the guest who has the issue. There are so many other signs. The other one is, if you drink more than 3, you have not learned the etiquette and the ritual of your host country, meaning the United Arab Emirates or any other country around the Gulf area. Drinking more than 3 is, you can do this in the desert or drinking at home amongst your family members. But as a guest, maximum 3. Best would be only 1. A sign of respect. As a guest, we are honored to be given Emirati coffee. This is the first signal. Number 2, you are being given the coffee or poured the coffee. If you're a woman, then with the women. If you're a man, then amongst the men. We are separated. It is a sign of welcoming to their home. In other words, it's an honor to be invited into a home of an Emirati family. It's not to be taken for granted. Let me just go back to the dalla. I'm going to reverse the camera now. There we go. Okay. Okay, let me just hold it here. The dalla is held with the left hand, poured. Poured is 1 minute. I'm just going to grab the camera here. Okay. Poured with the left hand into the demi-cup. Let me go a little closer. And there we go. This is called blonde Emirati coffee. Have a look at it. It's not dark. Optional, it can be also very, very dark. But don't be fooled. It is very, very strong. I do not recommend you drink more than 2. Now here we go. Now the cup never has, or the demi-cup does not, I don't have one here at home. And it should not have the ears. It's actually without the ear. Held this way, just around the cup. And little by little, you take a small amount of sip. Just a small sip. And if you no longer wish to have the coffee, you simply jiggle and the coffee pourer will know that you no longer wish to drink Emirati coffee. The other signal here is that the demi-cup or the finjan is held by the coffee pourer this way. I'm going to hold an empty one. It's held this way. This is in order to honor the person to whom you're giving it to, so that the receiver can hold or take the finjan, the demi-cup, by its middle part of the demi cup. Let me put this down, and I'm going to show you. There we go. This is how the guest is able to hold the demi cup. Now I'm going to go on to the next step. The dalla, the Emirati coffee, which I'm going to show you here, and its finished stages here, is usually consumed with local dates. These local dates, they are from Liwa. If you look at the map, it's still part of Abu Dhabi, and actually the major place or the major city where most of the dates grow, and they are absolutely they've actually picked up the flavor from the surrounding trees and from the minerals in the ground from the sand. And let me just open one for you, and I'm going to show you how they look like from the inside. There we go. They are semi-dry, and they're actually consumed together alternatively with the Emirati coffee. The Emirati coffee is bitter. There's never any sugar inside ever, and you have your dates, which you can then eat very, very slowly as a sweetener. Let me just put this down. Now I've also kept the pit of the date, and there's a good reason for it. About 40 and even 30 years ago, when coffee was not readily available, or coffee beans, the Emiratis, they used, as the Libyans as well, they used the date pits as a coffee substitute. They roasted the date pits and added, if they had spices available, they would add ginger, and on occasion also cassia or cinnamon, and saffron, and it was usually from Iran, and this is saffron. Now I'm going to end this program very soon. I'm going to just switch the camera around. I hope that you have enjoyed this part of the Emirati coffee program. I believe that once I have returned back to Germany, which will be middle of December, I will have a camera that will in fact be of far more of an advantage with regards to filming, possibly even 2 cameras. We'll see. I'm slowly progressing into it. In addition to what I have just said, the traditional Emirati preparation for coffee, they have 3 dallas. One large dalla, that's the first one, where you boil the water. The second one is where you insert the powdered coffee. Then you pour the hot water into it, and you add into the spout the fibers from the date tree in order to filter the coffee into a 3rd dalla, and that's your pouring dalla. And that is your 1 liter. So usually from a 2 liter dalla goes down to about a 1.5 liter dalla, filtered with fibers from the date tree. So I have given you some of the information, some of the rituals, and some of the etiquette that is required to explain to all the guests who come to this country. It's such a wonderful ritual and such a welcoming signal given by the Emiratis or by the countries around the Gulf area. That is such a sign of respect. Okay, with this thought in mind, I'd like to thank you all for being on board. And for those of you who are not, but will be watching it a little later, welcome on board. Also to all those who will be joining me when I'm no longer live here on this broadcasting. I'll be on again, I believe, December 12th, and I'll let you know way ahead as to which part of my cookbook I'm going to be explaining to you. All right, and it could be part 2 to Gawa or another, or it might also be a recipe. Let's just see. Okay, thank you very much, and bye. Thank you very much.